Did you know we're eating and drinking roughly a credit card's worth of plastic a week? That's why I've been on a journey to eliminate toxins and plastic from my home, and I hope you are too. The products that we're using every day are ultimately contaminating our water supply, generating hundreds of microplastics that we end up ingesting. So Blueland set out to do something about it. Eliminate the need for single-use plastic in the products we reach for the most. They offer refillable cleaning products with a beautiful cohesive design that looks great on your counter. You just fill your reusable bottles with water, drop in the tablets, and wait for them to dissolve. My favorite Blueland product that I can't live without is the laundry tablets. They contain clean ingredients and are so easy to maneuver. And they're so affordable. Blueland has a special offer for our listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/dateable. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/dateable for 15% off. That's BLUELAND.com/DATEABLE to get 15% off.
Could your daily routine be full of hormone disruptors? There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, they all mess with our hormones. The good news is we don't have to suffer through it anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms of women of all ages. Since I've been using Hormone Harmony, I have felt more balanced, and other women feel the same way. The biggest benefit, they say, is feeling like myself again. That's what women mention over and over in their reviews, and there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to the first episode of Dateable in the new year.
New year, same us.
But new you.
But new you? Only you change. We stay the same.
We're evolving. What do you mean? Every year we evolve, as we all do. But yeah, the new year, I like it in the sense that it is a fresh slate. It's a nice reset. But I also think that there is a lot of pressure to be like, I'm going to do things different this year. No. And you also need to realize that it is just another day too.
It is. It is. I like that people are always scrambling end of the year, like December. Oh, I gotta do all the things I said I was going to accomplish this year. It's okay. Time is just a construct of our imagination. That's what I think. But we are starting out this new imaginary year, and we are very excited about the announcement of our dating archetype quiz, which is part of our book, which actually sets up our entire book.
Yeah.
And we haven't released this yet until now.
Yes. And, 2025 is going to be an exciting year. I actually do feel strongly that this is a new year. I know we just said everything, it's a construct, all that, but I feel like we could personally be like, we're putting something in the universe that is really going to change people's love lives this year.
I agree. I feel very good about what we're putting out there because we've already seen people who've gotten advance copies for when we do these interviews have said that they've started seeing dating differently and doing dating differently. And it's really nice to hear. And everybody seems to be gravitating towards this dating archetype quiz. Who doesn't love a good quiz?
Everyone loves a quiz.
I think we're in the quiz generation. We're you can't go a year without a good quiz. We hope to be the quiz of 2025 because this quiz is going to give you so much information about who you are as a dater, what type of dater you are, what are your superpowers as a dater that attracts people to you? And then what may be holding you back? What are you kind of overlooking that could be getting in your way?
Yeah. And when we were doing the whole book writing process, we were like, we knew we wanted to have something that identified different types of daters because in like the last 10 years when we've been doing Dateable, we've really noticed very distinct approaches to dating, that come from the behaviors, how you view it, your perspective, your actions you take in dating, all of that. And we were able to categorize these into 5 major buckets. That's what we were able to find out from our research. And, when we were writing the book, it was further in the book initially. And our editor, like when she read the manuscript, was just like, wait, this needs to be earlier. This needs to be like the foundation. And we actually moved it. It's not the first intro, but it comes right after the intro. You can take the quiz in the book, but you also can take the quiz on the website, howtobedateable.com now. It's available now. And that's why we wanted to do this episode too, because you can do it even advanced before reading. But she was like, okay, we need to bring this up front. And then it really changed our whole structure of the book because while like we kept the same foundations of, the challenges and traps of modern dating and then how do you get out of it, each chapter is like customized to include your archetypes. You can look at it through that lens. And I think that really makes it a lot more of a personalized experience where it's not as much like generic advice. Like you can really hone in on your archetype, but also, of course, like understand other people you date.
And it is somewhat scientific. I will kind of have to brag about how we came about this quiz because it took a lot of time. The minute we knew that we wanted to do a quiz, we went to work in iterating this quiz over and over again. We tested it out on a bunch of people. We tested it out on ourselves. We looked at all the people we've talked to in the last decade to synthesize these buckets and to understand, did we encapsulate everybody in these archetypes? And we are very confident to say that we have. And also you may find that you resonate with one or more of these archetypes. So it means that we're multifaceted human beings and your archetype may change depending on which phase in dating you're in. And it's also a great way to look at the people you're dating to understand what type of dater they are too.
I feel like I don't really talk about this that much, but like outside of Dateable, I have a background in research. With more like tech and design. And actually consulted a friend of mine who is a researcher as well to look at this, to kind of give it her take too. And we were like, we need to make sure there's no leading questions or there's no misinterpretation. Actually, through the testing, we discovered there was like a major issue with the quiz too. And that's why it went through so many rounds. Because we're like, wait, everyone's coming back one archetype, or not everyone, but like a dominant amount of people. And we were able to look at the questions and say like, okay, this one is causing the results to be skewed. And we're able to look at ways that we can restate that question or change parts of it so we didn't get that bias.
The most fascinating part of this quiz to me is that it speaks to your subconscious. It is not what you think you are consciously, like we all think we present in a certain way, but we've had friends take this, read the descriptions and be like, I'm definitely this X, Y, and Z. And then they get something totally different that Julie and I are like, yup, you're definitely that. Your subconscious was able to bring that out. This quiz brought that out. But for a lot of us, we think externally we present something a little bit differently. So then you'll see the discrepancy between what you think you are and what you actually are doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people might know theirs, like from it. Like, it's not like everyone is going to be like, oh my God, this is a huge surprise. Yeah. But I do think that you might not always be aware of what's coming off. It really just depends on like how much kind of work you've done and self-awareness you may already have too. That gets you to like, is this actually a surprise and shock, or was this actually what I thought?
Julie, I feel like we should give the names of the 5 archetypes now. I don't want to go into details of them, but I think it'll be fun to give you all the names so you can kind of start guessing which ones you are. So we've got 5 of them. You've got the Maverick, Achiever, Thinker, Energizer, and dreamer.
Okay, let's marinate in that. I think that would actually be a fun exercise to see if people can guess theirs and then go take the quiz and see if it's accurate or not. I think the other side too is that we did this in a way that you actually will have 1 to 2 leading ones most of the time. This kind of reminds me, do you ever do in like a corporate environment, like your color, kind of like your leadership color style? So it's similar, like, there's a lot of these types of things, but they were always like, don't go around and being like, you are a yellow, because it doesn't define you as a person. And I think that was part of why we were like, we want to come up with different, not just you are the maverick, but like you have a couple of these leading archetypes and these like tendencies show up for you. So it's not, again, to define you. None of them are good or bad. Like people always are like, is there a good one that I want to get? And they all have strengths and they all have things holding them back that can help propel people as daters. So yeah, don't get stuck on like, oh, I need to fit into this one. There's no winner.
No, they're all winners.
They're all winners.
All of them are winners. There is so much power in understanding the combination of archetypes that you may have, though. And we'll go into this in a little bit too, because Julie has a very powerful combination that I think just them standalone, yes, gives you some information, but as a combo gives you a more holistic picture. So pay attention to, kind of like the equation of 2 or 3 of them combined.
Yeah. So before we get into all of the archetypes, of course, go pre-order the book, howtobedateable.com. We are in the final weeks now. Comes out January 28th. And like we've said before, pre-orders help so much, but also you get all the freebies still. We keep seeing people redeeming their freebies every day, and we just love seeing it happen. So you get to get our 3 guides. We have our guide to navigating dating anxiety, modern dating survival guide, and 25 questions to ask within the first month of dating. So
that's so good.
All, hitting different spectrums of dating, which is great. And that's all available for you for free with every pre-order. And then, of course, you get the book, too, with the pre-order, which comes out on the 28th.
Oh, yeah, you get the
book.
Get the book.
Even without the book, it's worth it. But it's a steal, and we're doing that because we get it. Pre-orders are weird. It's not necessarily something that people do a lot. But again, we're just asking for that support as new authors, and it means the world to us. howtobedateable.com. Okay, well, before we get into it, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsor. If you're anything like me, the post-holiday blues sometimes set in. Something I love to do, though, is treat myself to something a little special at affordable prices, of course. That's where Quince comes in. I asked for a Quince gift card for the holidays, and my parents delivered. I've been obsessed with the flow knit wide leg pants I got a couple months ago, wearing them all the time, so I might need to get another pair. It pairs so well with the camel Mongolian cashmere sweater I also got from them, which also may be something I want to consider getting another one of, because at $50 for cashmere, who can resist? They also have Italian leather handbags, washable silk skirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/dateable for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable.
Start the new year with a new language in your repertoire. What a great time to acquire a new language when you're energized and ready to tackle a personal challenge. It's certainly on my list, and I'm so grateful to have Rosetta Stone as my handy language tutor, the most trusted language learning program available on desktop or as an app. It truly immerses you in the language you want to learn by employing fast language acquisition tools, such as no English translations and an intuitive process that helps you pick up a language naturally, first with words, then phrases, then sentences. Everything's designed for long-term retention, so you don't have to worry about forgetting that language when you actually need it. Start the new year off with a resolution you can reach. Today, Dateable listeners can take advantage of this Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/today. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/today. Today.
So I guess that being said, should we share our leading ones?
Yes.
And then we can like explain a little what they are in the process?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you want to go first for yours?
Sure, I will
Okay.
go. Sure, I'll go first. And the way we kind of told the names was in order of it being the acronym for this. For the 5 archetypes is mated. This was not on purpose. We just found out afterwards, like MATED, if that's easier for you all to remember. So the M stands for maverick, and that's what I am. That's my leading archetype, where some of my superpowers are I'm very self-sufficient, very independent. I hold my own in a relationship. I have a strong sense of self, and I really respect giving people their space. What may be holding me back is that I run. I am a runner. It's hard for me to become vulnerable, and I run when things do become hard or vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability challenges my independence. So it actually hurts me from getting deeper with people. And a lot of times I think in terms of me versus we. And I still see these tendencies come up quite a bit. And that's okay. Like I'm going to lean into the strengths of being independent and self-sufficient, but then be very aware of when I am kind of pitting myself against the person I'm dating and not seeing them as part of my team.
I think I've seen so much in you over the years, though, of how like this has been your greatest asset of like giving someone the space to be themselves and respecting who they are and like kind of treating that individuality to a relationship. So I think there's a lot of beauty there. But I have seen you take those steps of like, okay, I am thinking in me, which is also probably only child syndrome coming through too.
Sure.
And to be like, oh, it's we. I'm in a couple. I need to account for this other person. And that is vulnerable and it's scary. And I think that's why sometimes it goes to like me in independence because it feels safer, more like you can control yourself. But I think knowing this, you're like, I'm not going to like lose those benefits of who I am. That brings so much to a partnership. But when I sense that I'm like, okay, I'm holding back in this conflict or I'm not putting myself fully out because I'm afraid of, showing that true self and getting hurt and what could come as a consequence of being in a we, I've seen you really rise to that occasion and be like, I'm going to do it anyways, even if it's uncomfortable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's definitely been something that I've been challenging myself to get out of my comfort zone. And what has been life-changing for me in relationships is understanding at what point am I prioritizing my independence? At what point am I prioritizing my fear of being hurt or my fear of being rejected? So an example could be like, yes, I give people their space. I respect their independence in a relationship. But at what point am I being like, here, have your space because I'm afraid you're going to hurt me first. So I'm just going to run from you.
Right.
And then make it seem like I'm giving you your space and independence versus being like, actually, now we can take some time apart and like find ourselves and then regroup. There's a huge difference, but they all kind of externally, like if you're just observing it, act out in a similar way.
It's funny because the maverick, I think on the outside comes off as very confident.
Yes.
And I think even when I met you, Yue, first, I thought like you were just like super confident, had all your shit together. And then like not that you're not confident, I don't mean to say that.
I was just a hot mess.
Then I met you. I'm just
Then I crumbled.
No, but I think like you played like the cool girl a lot when I first met you. Like I remember you were just like withholding a lot. Like the coloring book story, how instead of texting the guy, you were just like, I'm going to write an adult coloring book for hours. So I don't like, the anxiety that came from that situation instead of just being like, are we on for like the date or not, like putting it out there because it was like this playing it cool. I'm independent. I have my own life going on. But like at the same time, you were like, no, I actually am like caught up in this other person. So it's a really interesting dichotomy. But okay, we've obviously talked a lot about your ex and like how that ended poorly and all that, but you've said it yourself too, and I agree. I think that relationship really showed that you were like, I'm gonna like put in the effort and not run from it. And I think that's something that relationship served for you, is that you were able to like address a lot of this head on. And yeah, maybe it didn't necessarily end in the way that imagined, but there was so much like learning that came from all that and growth.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's like, I think breakups are hard and, exiting relationships are hard, but they're really hard when you feel like you've sacrificed for the relationship or for the other person. And I know that in that relationship, I did everything for myself. Like everything was for me to grow, for me to learn, for me to heal from. So when that relationship ended, it was like, I didn't lose myself because I had done it for myself. And that's the maverick I'm so glad to be holding on to. That's like the perfect idea of what a maverick can be. It's like being true to myself and doing it for myself.
But then on the other side too is you still gave to that relationship.
Yes.
You left
yes.
being like, I did everything I could have. I think the downside of the maverick would have been they just would be too cool and put up that armor that they didn't actually try. But I feel like you kind of struck that balance of I'm going to lean in to the positives of the maverick and come out as independent, but also I did give this my all. I really did put everything forward.
Yep. Thank you. I feel I'll pat myself on the back.
I think it's important. We won't go into a list with everyone, but I think it's important because it shows that you can come out of it. By being aware of it. I think that's a big piece. It's, again, there's positives and negatives of each one of them, but by being aware of what's actually holding you back, it doesn't have to hold you back anymore.
Yeah. There are going to be a lot of mavericks out there. We know it.
There are, I think a lot of us too, especially if we've been single for a while, you can get set in your ways and, do things that, again, there's so much beauty in that, but then it does make it hard sometimes for a partnership.
Yes.
But I feel like you in this your current partnership is just so different because you've been able to address this stuff.
Yes. I wish I had this quiz a little bit earlier, but you know what? It's fine. We're paying it forward. And then now Julie.
Okay. So I guess we both have one that is a hybrid of ours that's a leading. So I'll talk about it. But we have the achiever. That's a combo that Yue and I both have. And this is the person, that dates with purpose and conviction. They know what they want and they're not afraid to go after it. This actually serves them really well in professional life and education and all of that. They're resilient. They have that perseverance. The downside, though, is that they're always focused on what's next. They're getting caught in the milestones over even maybe finding the right partner. That could cause you to stay with the wrong person because you're already on the train and you don't want to get off and start over. Or maybe I've had this happen that it causes me to be is this actually the right person if we're not on the exact same timeline? And that I've had to realize is near impossible in a relationship. So the achiever mindset can be oh my God, this person's not 100% to where I am right now. Is this wrong? And they could actually lose a really great connection and relationship. I think the other piece too is it's hard to stay present if you're always thinking in the future. And, this is something that has helped me to really identify what it is because I can find myself doing this a lot and I have to be okay, hold up a little. What's going well in the present right this minute?
Yes. And I feel like it's synonymous with being ambitious, which is something that you've always been, Julie, ever since I've known you. Because for anybody who doesn't know, when I first met Julie, she had her startup called 500 Brunches. And I remember just being this girl is getting it. She is just, she saw a need for people to connect in real life. And she just then decided to make a business out of it. That's so incredible. So you've always been very ambitious, always been very driven. And I think you had to really come to terms with the fact that relationships don't operate on the same sort of milestones as a professional life. And sometimes they kind of mirror each other and sometimes they don't. But relationships are way more unpredictable. You can't just be I'm going to learn these skills and then I'm going to get a raise or I'm going to get a promotion.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. And you've become, the word is, more patient with yourself, with your relationship, with your partner, with where you are in life. And I really admire the fact that your motto has been your timing, trust in your timing. And I think that's the ultimate kind of balance to achiever is to trust in your timing.
No, thank you for pointing that out because I have been doing a lot of work on that. And it's funny because I'll get into what my partner is later, but like the achiever of me, he's complimented me well to kind of just like ground it a little because it does come out in the impatience and, you know, the whole, it's funny because you brought up the studying aspect. And I think like early when I started dating, I felt behind because I hadn't really dated that much in like high school and college, even like my early 20s. I was like kind of dating for the first time really in like my late 20s. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I catch up? And I went to all the dating books, like Why Men Love Bitches. You got your PhD. All the bad books. Ours is a good book. All the bad books. Ours is like the anti of those books because I read all these bad books. And I realized that like this formulaic approach just doesn't work. Like it doesn't because you're not authentic. You're not vulnerable. Like it's not a way to connect to anyone. But for the achiever, it's easy to go to these like rules because it's almost like we've been taught if you follow this, you know, formula in other parts of life, it will pay off. And I think the achiever relinquishing control in some areas can be really difficult.
Yes. It's like in some ways I see that you want structure because the structure almost gives you safety. Like, okay, if we follow this structure, then I know we're on a path to that progression. And if we're not within the structure, then we must be off course. And I've seen you like kind of ping pong back and forth between the two of like, is this structure working for me? And then versus like, okay, I'm going to follow the structure. Yeah, it's been a really interesting mindset shift for you because you still are the same achievement-oriented person in your professional life. But then you had to like really pause in your personal life.
Yeah. And it's, I think both of us, we were like those people in dating that counted every date. We're like, the third date means this, like very like linear that way. And it was, yes, I've done work on it, but it was hard for me in dating too. I'll talk about this more in the interview episode, but I think because I met someone like a little later in life, I thought everything would just like go in a quick timetable. Cause like you've always heard like, oh, when you meet later in life, just things happen fast.
Things happen. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I think I had a very like structured thought of like, in a year, we're going to move in together. And the next year we're going to get engaged. And then like I had to recognize like that might not be my partner's timeline. And that was hard for me. Like it was hard to like restructure that and to get out of my head of like, this doesn't mean that like he doesn't like you, doesn't want to be with you because he's not willing to move at these speeds. But I think for an achiever, it can be really like jarring when that doesn't happen. And I could have given up this relationship. And like now I'm so glad like I didn't because like that wouldn't serve me to give up on this relationship. It's the best relationship I've ever been in. But I can see achievers like throwing in the towel quickly because of stuff like that.
And you know what? I'm so glad that your partner is not leading achiever like you are, because I've definitely seen relationships where it's two achievers get into a relationship together. And because you know, when you are with another achiever, you egg each other on.
Yeah.
Then you only focus on the milestones and you do, and you get. And then you do all these celebrations and you hit all these milestones and then you don't actually work on your relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I see happening. I have so many friends like that who are with other achievers who are like, yeah, we're really succeeding. We're like crushing life. And then they get a moment of silence or a pause and then they go, fuck, I don't like, what is our relationship? We don't even know each other.
And I'm so glad like now that everything is played out in the timeline it needed to.
Yes.
Because I think it just, the foundation is so much stronger and you're just like going into the relationship. Like I'm excited that we're going into our wedding, like being closer with family and stuff, like each other's family. But if you did everything in like a year, you just like wouldn't because it's all so quick.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Which means your partner is a...
Oh yeah, thinker. Okay, I was going to go to my other leading one, but we'll go to his first and then we'll talk about the other ones later. So, okay, the thinker. So you're consistent, reliable, dependable, like all the qualities that are really important in like a partner, right? Someone that's here for the long haul. Like you're the steady constant for people in your life. And I think another benefit of the thinker is that you have the capacity to work through through conflict and see various perspectives. And once you're committed, you are all in.
Yes.
The downside of the thinker is that this is the person that may face analysis paralysis and overthinking gets in the way. And this is the person that might overanalyze like every last text message or dating profile or bigger picture, like, is this the right partner for me? And you hold back out of fear of making the wrong decision, but you lose track of like the big picture of what's actually important and what's making you happy. And sometimes you just need to take that leap of faith.
What's probably going to be most relatable about the thinker for many of you is that the thinker is very logical.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh, if I do all the research, then I must have made the right decision. And no decision's ever guaranteed to be right. Sometimes things need to be played out. Also, another kind of caution for thinkers is to think about like, you need to make space for magic. And we talk about this a lot, right?
Yes.
In relationships and dating, sometimes you can't explain why you're drawn to certain people and why there's a deeper connection with someone. There's nothing logical about it. And if you don't make room for that kind of like random magic to happen that you can't explain, then you won't enjoy the beauty of dating, because the beauty of dating sometimes is in what can't be explained.
I think the thinker could have a very predefined list of like what they're looking for in a partner, or at least an image in their mind. And if they meet someone that's out of their type, it can be a bit jarring because it's confusing, right? Like, this doesn't logically make sense. Why am I attracted to this person? But yeah, like you have to kind of trust and lean into how you're feeling around the person and what you're doing. And I think like it's interesting because this is why we feel like it's so important to personalize the book more, because advice that I would give to like someone that's a thinker, for instance, might be very different than like the dreamer, which we'll get into, which is like all about the feels, right?
Yes, all about the magic.
Yeah. Right. And maybe they need to do a little more thinking. Yeah. So it's kind of why it's so important to understand your archetype, because like I think people get confused when they just hear the generic dating advice thrown around. And so much of it really depends on like who you are. For instance, like we have a friend and she was really getting in her head. She's a thinker. She actually took the quiz. She's the one that you mentioned.
We didn't think she was a thinker.
We had like a focus group of like people that did the quiz with us through different iterations. And one of our friends got the thinker and she was surprised. And both Yue and I were like, this is not a surprise. Like, look at our text thread and you'll see, like, she overanalyzes everything. So that was an example of when it was a surprise, but in the best way possible, that it was enlightening. But when she first met her partner, she was like hesitating. She was like, I don't know, maybe I should just like date more people and, you know, like take things slow. And I'm like, you need to dive all in. And I would not have given that advice to other people. This is someone too that's been dating multiple people for years and never really went all in with like one person. And I'm like, you need to just take the leap, like a month, just take the leap for a month and spend a lot of time with him, because that's the only way you'll actually get to know and see if you could be a fit. If you're just like seeing each other once a week for months and you're juggling him with all these people, this is just going to keep going like forever. You're never going to know if like this could be something. But I wouldn't give that same advice to someone that's always just diving in head first.
No. Well, because a thinker is, what we want to tell you is put it into practice. You are already thinking about the theories and the reasons and the stats, and you have like all this information in your head, yet you're not putting it into practice. And sometimes you got to just like, relationships are about relating to people. Yeah. You got to just start doing it to see if your theories and your stats actually prove to be true.
Okay, I want to go into the next one, but before we do, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
At Verizon, anyone can trade in their old phone for a new one on us with Unlimited Ultimate, which means everyone in your family could get a new phone and stay on your family plan, keeping you close.
Hey, Mom, you seen my toothbrush? Yeah, I'm almost done with it.
Oh, maybe too close. Trade-in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Let me guess, you have a life and job that you love, but the one thing missing is love itself. If you want to take your dating journey seriously this year, we highly recommend checking out Dating Intentionally wherever you get your podcasts. Dating Intentionally is hosted by Talia Corinne, who's on a mission to make dating fun and help you date with confidence. Talia pulls from her own experience going on 180 dates with over 60 people in just 10 months, which ultimately led to her getting married. She's also joined by therapists, coaches, experts, and authors like us. We had a great conversation with Talia on her show all about dating skills you need to find the relationship you want. That's episode 78. If you're looking for practical, no-nonsense advice that you can apply to your dating life today, you can listen to Dating Intentionally on Tuesdays and Fridays on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Okay, Yue, do you want to go into the next one that we have on our list?
So opposite of a thinker. It's the energizer. So the thinker is lack of action and the energizer is all action. And we love being around the energizer. This is like the person everybody invites to their party, right? They're full of energy, full of charisma. They love meeting new people. They actually get energized from meeting new people. And they are always like thinking about fun dates to do. And they're just like a lot of entertainment all around. But what may be getting in the energizer's way is that they don't take the time to slow down and to reflect. If you feel like you haven't checked in with yourself to be like, do I even like this person? Do I even want to go on another date with this person? Most likely you're probably an energizer because you're kind of just on the go, giving your energy to other people instead of yourself. So we just want to say, like, after you read this book, you might find it to be important to take a pause and just reflect on yourself and for yourself.
This is the person too that's always filling their calendar, whether it's dates or social activities. They think they can meet someone wherever they go. I've seen friends like this that are just go, 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 going on all these dates. And, you know, I think people can feel it when you're going on this many dates.
Yes.
And I was this person at one stage of life. I feel like when I first started dating and using apps, I was definitely the energizer. I was booking multiple dates at one night, you know, going on, I don't know, 3 dates a week. And I think people can feel it too when you're like kind of just like cycling through people, because sometimes you just can't get as deep too. And it feels like a bit more surface level when it's like you're juggling all these people at once.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I think the energizer serves you at a certain point in your life when you're getting back into dating or you're just starting dating or you don't really know what you like yet. Like, yes, be the energizer. Go try out as many connections as you can, but also schedule that time to reflect and to pause. And what we've seen with the energizer is it happens all the time, because we had my friend Brooke on DATEABLE, who was like the queen of Tinder, right? She went on like 900 first dates or whatever. And she ended up meeting her now husband and her baby daddy when she paused from online dating and she went out with girlfriends for a drink at a random bar. And that's how she met her husband. But she had gone on 900 some dates before that. And she kept saying, like, there's nobody good in New York City. Well, guess what? There is. And you just ended up meeting this person when you weren't go, go, go. And everybody wasn't just a number to you.
I think that's a common theme we see with energizers all the time. And it doesn't mean you have to stop dating. It could just be less is more mentality, or vetting your dates a little more, or being like in these unexpected places. I think like I'm thinking of like one of my best friends. This is when I knew the quiz was broken, though, when we first were testing. She came out the thinker and I was like, nope, she's absolutely the energizer.
Yep.
And she was just, I remember she was getting really frustrated with dating apps because she would just go on all these dates with people. And I'm like, did you talk to them before you met up? Like, did you have any, like, I mean, she had like some back and forth, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, why don't you try throwing in like a call or something? Because she would just go on these dates and be like, no chemistry, that was blah. It was like a cycle all the time. And she just like was go and like didn't really give it much thought. And she met her now husband on like vacation when she wasn't in that cycle. So I think sometimes getting out of your environment too is good for energizers when you have to slow down.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. We love the Energizer. We love all of you, but the Energizer.
We have a lot of Energizer friends.
We have a lot of Energizer
But also
friends.
just to point out, our editor, Ronnie, she took the quiz and she was like, Energizer. That was her leading one. And Yue and I were both surprised. Because like that's not really her persona in a work environment. And we asked if she was surprised by it. And she's like, no, that's me in dating. So like I bring that up because like what you are in some parts of life, like sometimes it correlates, like I was saying with the achiever, it does in some instance, but other times it doesn't. Sometimes like you have a different persona in dating than you do in other parts of life.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Should we go into the last one, which
is you're a better half.
Yeah. So outside of achiever, I think this one might even be stronger for me than achiever. At different stages of life, this was like number one for me. But this is the person that is like the romantic at heart. They see the best in people. They wear their heart on their sleeves and loves deeply. And they're giving. They're a great partner, like a great partner. The downside is, though, they sometimes give to the people that don't necessarily deserve it. Like you're giving the 10th chance to that person that probably should have been like axed a long time ago. You know, you're not really putting your needs first. Like I found myself in so many situationships because I was giving to people that clearly like weren't respecting my needs and desires and even prioritizing me in the slightest. And I think part of it was that I was in the fantasy and not the reality of the situation. I was really getting ahead of myself in early dating. And I think a lot of people fall into this where you meet someone great, the chemistry is off the charts, you have a fantastic first date, or maybe it's a fantastic couple first dates, they hook you, and then slowly it diminishes, but you're like kind of holding on to what you had in the early stages, trying to get that back because that's like what you've built up in your head as this person and the relationship that you're going to have.
As the name implies, the dreamer lives in dreamland, and the person they're dating seems to be a character in their dream, and that's the person they get attached to. I feel like we've all been here at some point, right? You meet someone and then you start amplifying who they are in your head, and you're like, no, this is my perfect partner, and then you see them for who they are. The dreamer can come down to reality a little bit more, but we love you dreamers for still believing in love, for being optimistic about love, and for believing that everybody will find love.
Yeah, and when it's funneled into the right place,
yes.
So many endearing positive qualities. I think where it really got to me is like, this was like a lot of my 20s to 30s that I was in these situations that I just like in my head thought were so much more than they actually were. And I thought like this was the love of my life or the person I was going to marry when it like clearly wasn't the case. Like situationships were a piece of it. Like I think this is an example I've used where the achiever and the dreamer come in effect. And I think actually that combination causes you to hold on to the wrong people. And if I was to go back in my dating life and do one thing different, that would be it, is to let go of the wrong people and not be so afraid to like not have anyone out of fear, you know, instead of like holding on to these people.
Yes.
But I had this example where I had a friend that, you know, made the move out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't see this coming. And he's like, I've had a crush on you for all these years. You know, I really want to date you and be with you. And I was like, I don't know. This isn't really someone like that I thought was like looking for a real relationship. Like they don't really seem relationship material. It's not someone I ever looked at that way. Honestly, I wasn't even that attracted to him. But anyways, I was like kind of taken off guard by it. But then we did hook up and then I thought about it more. And I was like, what if the person had just been like under my nose this entire time, you know? And I don't think this is like wrong of me to give someone a chance. Like I don't think that's not the part of the story. That's the bad part. Like, I think it was good to be open and be like, okay, this person's coming forward. It's not who you necessarily thought, but like, let's try it out. So I got to the point that I was like, okay, I'm ready to try this out. And at that point, he's like, actually, I don't want to be in a relationship. Also didn't cut it in the sense that he was still willing to do like a friends with benefits situation. At that stage, I should have cut it, right? It wasn't even someone that I liked. But in my mind, I was like, wait, this person like took this away from me. And now like, I'm the one that wants it and you're saying no. And my achiever went into like overdrive. I was like, I'm going to prove this person. I'm going to change their mind. And then the dreamer in me started seeing this like friends with benefits as like so much more, believing I was in love with this person. This lasted 2 years. I'm like very embarrassed to say that, but it did. And I'm sure my friends were just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like they couldn't say that. And I had to do it. I had to go through it. I'm glad I did because it taught me what I would never stand for again. Like if someone says they don't want to be in a relationship, like I'm done. Like I'm not going to try to prove someone. But I think it's a perfect example of how these two worked together and took like things that could be positives, but really amplified like the parts that held me back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see where the downfall started. You know, like you said, the positive was you were open-minded and you were willing to give someone a chance and to open your heart to someone. But then at some point, you stop checking in with yourself to ask, do I even like this person? Am I being treated in a way that I would want to be treated in a relationship? You were so focused on moving this relationship forward and winning their affection that you kind of forgot about yourself along the way.
The dreamer too, what was hard about this, it was like a friend in the friend group, so I could never really escape him. So we'd have these like of course they were like alcohol-induced nights, but like, you know, we'd have like the steamy makeout and all this stuff and just like be up all night talking. And it was like that fake relationship because 90% of it wasn't there, right? So like those moments were so heightened and they were like dreamlike, like such chemistry here that's like this rare connection. And it's like, no, this actually isn't a healthy connection at all.
What we find a lot with dreamers is dreamers get stuck on the meet cute or the story part of things, right? Like we've seen dreamers who would meet someone at a grocery store and be like, this got to be my person.
Yeah.
This is a story for everybody to hear at our wedding.
Yes.
When it could just been like a random person. The meet cute is so important. We hear this from dreamers too. Oh, our first date lasted 12 hours. We just couldn't like leave each other. We were just so into each other. And then you ask, what were you doing? Oh, well, we were getting drunk all night and we're getting wasted and we couldn't leave. So yeah, the getting stuck on the story actually is the part that is dangerous because that's when you start abandoning yourself.
Yeah. And I'd like to say that my dreamer tendencies just ended after the situationship, but it didn't. You know, I think it also carried into my like most serious relationship outside of my current partner. And this was the on again, off again one. And I think the dreamer in me was holding on to narratives like love conquers all and it's all going to work out in the end. And who cares if like he has stuff he needs to work through? Like eventually it all like happened. And, you know, it also just kept me on the hook for something. And I wasn't able to see like, again, how I was abandoning myself and my needs weren't getting met. And it took a lot of work to get out of this. I think that relationship served, like I said, the first one served to be like, I will never stand for someone that says they won't be in a relationship. This second relationship, I think, stood as like, I need to like be realistic about like how someone's showing up and not get ahead of myself with things. And like I remember when I met my current fiance, I'll use it. Like I remember meeting up with like my best friend after the first date, and she's like, so are you going to see him again? All the stuff. And I think part of like the dreamer gets like I don't know, like I think our expectations of dating like reinforces the dreamer tendencies a lot. Like when your friends are like kind of getting ahead of it for you.
Yes.
And I had to be like, you know, like if we do, that's great. And if we don't, that's also okay. Like I don't really know this person more than an hour. Like they seem really great. I had to like really take a lot of steps to like bring myself down to earth a little. And I think I can hear people being like, well, then you're losing the magic and don't you want to be hopeful and all that? And I'm like, I think the dreamer has enough of that going on already. Like I wouldn't necessarily give the same advice to the thinker, for instance, on that. But the dreamer, it's like for me being a little more realistic, I was still very hopeful and optimistic in love.
Yes. Well, I mean, the good thing about, I think what I've seen with you is you're not so logical that you've stripped the kind of like your dreamer, whimsical qualities out of what you want in a relationship. I've seen some friends just being like so heartbroken in the past that they get stripped down to just doing the logical, practical things. Like, I don't even need an engagement. I don't even need a proposal. I don't even need a wedding. We're just going to have kids and then do life together. And then it's like, which for some people it works.
Yeah.
Right. But for some of these friends that I've seen who've done this, they still wanted the story, before. And then now they feel like they're not deserving of it. So why not just go straight to the logical, practical things to do? So I like that you've still balanced the two. And I do admire the fact that even in this current relationship, you're like, I still want things to happen in a certain order. The proposal, the engagement, the wedding, and like, I'm not going to be stripped of that dreamer side of me.
Well, I think the dreamer side of me is actually what I give to relationships. It's a lot of like, passion and love. And people have said like, you have like such a big heart. And I'm like, I never want that taken away. That's all very positive. But again, it's like, how do you do it in a way that like actually helps you date? A big piece of the last time I dated is I was able to get rid of people faster.
Yes.
And I don't mean get rid of people like they're disposable, but like if someone wasn't showing up, like I had this guy that in my head, I started to go there of like, oh, this could be the person. And then he couldn't even make an hour to meet up for a date. I'm like, I need to be realistic. Like I wanted someone that prioritizes me. That's like in touch with your needs. This person isn't showing me that. So I need to be like, I'm going to go find someone that can meet up for an hour. Like that's not a big ask to make of someone. It's the bare minimum.
Yes, exactly. Oh, they're so good. I'm so proud of our 5 dating archetypes. There's so much to talk about. And once you take the quiz, share it with a friend or share it with 10 friends because you'll have so much to talk about with each other too. One thing we've seen to be really helpful once you take the quiz is that you let your friends know what your tendencies are. Like, what are some things that could be holding you back so they can start looking out for it? Like,
yes,
as a friend to Julie, I could be like, are we making up stories now? Or like, are we getting a little too ahead of ourselves? Or are we too focused on the outcome? So then we can like course correct for each other in a very loving, kind way.
I'm really glad you said that. And I think it also helps to understand the people you're dating. If you're the energizer and you're go, 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 and you encounter someone that's a thinker, it might not mean that they're not into you, that they're just pacing things differently.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I realize we both are with thinkers.
We are. And I think there's something there,
there's a reason
too.
For that.
Yeah, I think there's a good core. I love, though, I saw this TikTok video. It was like a guy giving his like vows. And he was like, as someone that thinks through everything, you can be assured that I have thought through every reason why this relationship wouldn't work. And I'm still here.
Yep.
And I love that about a thinker is like they're not just rushing into things. Like they are giving it thought and intention. And those are all very positive attributes to bring to a relationship.
Yes. You just need to take action every once in a while. That's all. Baby steps.
So you can take this quiz, howtobedateable.com. It's there even before the book comes out. So you are ready to go. And when you're reading the book, like it all is in context. Like a few people have asked us too, like, how is this different than other assessments? And I love this question because I'm curious your take, Yue, but I think of like Myers-Briggs, like the personality types. They give a lot of insight into how individuals like perceive the world and interact with others and make decisions. And I think there's clearly some overlap with this of like how they approach dating and decide what to do and who to pursue and all of that. But I think a big difference is that who you are in one part of life isn't always the same in dating, like we were saying earlier. So having a dating lens is so different. And I think also the archetypes looks more at like your attitudes to dating, because I think mindset is everything. So if you're having a certain approach, like where is that coming from? I think these archetypes really hone into that a lot.
Yes. Agreed. And it's a combination of a belief system and your actions. We're not just in your head.
Yes.
We also kind of show you what you're doing, how it manifests in your living life, waking life, as they call it, but then what could be going on in your subconscious too. And there, like we said, there's no good or bad. Like there's no qualifier on these archetypes. You're not more superior because you're a thinker than a dreamer. It's to highlight how you are dating, how you are showing up in your love life, so then you can understand where you can lean in more into and shed light on where things could be getting in your way. So I think that's also another difference, is we're not just highlighting all the bad things or all the good things. It's like, we want to show you that you are a well-balanced person of all the strengths, all the superpowers. And then just like all of us, there are always going to be things that we are overlooking because we're just living in our own heads, right? So like, why not see from perspectives that you wouldn't normally see?
I'm glad you brought up, like, no one is better than the other, because I think maybe my flaw with attachment theory is that there is this like gold standard we're all trying to move to is secure, and the other two are, or the other three are like inferior. I think attachment theory serves its purpose that's very different than this also. A lot of that is, you know, based on how humans form and maintain emotional bonds, which is from your childhood and like the experience with your caretakers. And I look at our dating archetypes as more of learned from dating experiences. Of course, attachment could play into that. So for instance, I can see someone that has like more avoidant tendencies, maybe having more maverick or thinker tendencies, because like that plays in, or anxious, having more dreamer or achiever tendencies. So it's not that they don't work together, but I think one of them is primarily formed from early experiences, where this is more like cumulative with how you've entered the dating world as well.
Yes. You have the same gripe with attachment theory as I do with love languages. And a huge difference between the 5 archetypes and love languages, which is also something we researched in depth when we did this assessment, is the love languages is very one-dimensional. It's like action based on what you need. But for our archetypes, it's a way for you to craft what you actually need. For example, a dreamer may want more quality time with someone, their reason being very different than an achiever wanting quality time with someone. That's very nuanced. And you can't just be like, oh, well, the person I'm dating wants quality time, or I need quality time. As a dreamer, I need more quality time so I can be more understanding of where we're going. I can be more understanding of our standing. I can be more understanding of who you are and what you need. That's where the quality time comes from. Achiever could need more quality time because they want to know, I have these thoughts about these milestones, and I want to know where you are about your milestones. That's a very different way to spend quality time together. So that's why we're like, it's not just one size fits all, right? Someone wanting affection could be for very different reasons. So we hope that once you take the archetype quiz, you can craft your ask for your needs in a much better personalized way.
I love that you brought that up, because I think too, we're not like trying to shit on the other tests. Like absolutely. I am. I think everything has a little drawback, and I'm sure ours has something too, like every single quiz and assessment out there. But I think they all play together well. They just give you more insight into like the self-awareness and just like how you operate. And I think for all of that, they're really good. Like, I think for attachment theory, I'm still like pro attachment theory. I like that it gives you like tools to improve your interpersonal like understanding. I think that's really important. More of what I don't like about it is when people are like, oh, I'm not secure yet, so I can't date. And it's like preventing me from doing something. Where I think with the archetypes, go date and be you. Like, I don't think anyone should change the archetype that they're in. It's just like leaning into your strengths and then recognizing what's holding you back.
Yeah. And it's not just a static thing. It's not like, okay, I'm an energizer and that's what I am. Like there's always things we can be working on and working towards, even knowing your archetype. You don't have to be like, I need to just succumb to the fact that I'm an energizer. It's like lean into, like you were saying, lean into it and also feel like you're empowered. Now you know this information.
Okay, so how do you learn yours? howtobedateable.com. Go take the quiz, and we'll also have it in the show notes.
And you can take it in our book too.
Yes, and make sure to get the book, even if you take the quiz now, because this will all put it into practice. And, we're just, again, so excited for this to get into the hands of everyone, because we truly think it will change the way you date and, give you the love life you've wanted, that, we're in a new year, we're ready for that reset, and this is going to be it. This book is going to be that reset.
Yay. New year, still the dateable you. So just an improved version.
I mean, we're sticking with it as we believe everyone is dateable. Like, this book isn't going to be like, how to be dateable, change who you are. No, you are dateable the way you are. You're amazing. You're wonderful. You're so deserving of love. And now it's just, how do we unlock it?
We got the key. Let's go. Cool. All right. Happy New Year, everyone. We're going to wrap up this episode. We'll be back with more. We don't go anywhere, even in the off season, as you know.
We're going to be doing some fun interview episodes next too. So definitely stay tuned for those.
Interviewing each other.
Yes. People love these. These are some of our most listened to episodes.
Yes, because we're so fascinating.
People just want to hear people's lives.
We're so interesting. Get ready for this. But yes, we'll be back for more. In the meantime, have a lovely new year, start of the new year. It's going to be a great year. All right, wrapping up this episode.
Stay dateable.
89% of business leaders say AI is a top priority. The right choice is crucial, which is why teams at 1/3 of Fortune 500 companies use Grammarly. Grammarly is the right AI assistant for your team. With top-tier security credentials and 15 years of experience in responsible AI, Grammarly is how companies like yours increase productivity while keeping data protected and private. See why 70,000 teams trust Grammarly at grammarly.com/enterprise.
What is... Dax, are you?
Tracking all our cars on Carvana Value Tracker on all our devices? Yes, Kristen, yes I am.
Well, I've been looking for my phone for...
In Dax's domain, we see all. So we always know what our cars are worth.
All of them?
All of them. Value surge, trucks up 3.9%.
That's a great offer.
I know. Sell?
Sell.
Track your car's value with Carvana Value Tracker today.
Lowe's knows how to help make your Super Bowl 59 party a touchdown. Let us help you prep your home to host with top brands like Charbroil, Blackstone, and LG, so you can be the MVP of game day. Plus, use the Lowe's app to find what you need for a seamless shopping run. Or huddle up with our Lowe's Red Vest associates to help make all your game time hosting decisions.